Hello, welcome to Waiting for Game, a podcast presented by Melee Stats. I'm your host, Gimme That Wheat, and after a couple excursions recently, we were at a undisclosed studio somewhere in the heart of Southern California. But we're back. We're back home to our undisclosed location somewhere in various northeast towns along the East Coast. I'm your host, Gimme Weed. I think I already said that, but it's been a little bit since we had our good friend on the podcast. I'm of course talking about Edwin Budding. Edwin, you weren't on our last episode. Yeah, you weren't obviously at this undisclosed location covering Summit. And then the episode before that, we had your good friend Yarn Yoshi on. Speaking of which, I guess we still have to have you dress up as a Yoshi, right? Because
that is true. I have the costume upstairs separately. Maybe sometime in the middle of the show, I'll go get dressed and come back down for just to fulfill my end of the bargain.
Yeah, of course. If anyone didn't watch our Big House episode, you did make a bet. I think you made it. Was it a 50-1?
It was a 50-1 bet against. But I took the one
against AMSA, and you also did throw in, just for good measure, the fact that you would wear a Yoshi costume during one of our episodes, which you have not. It's a shame
that I haven't been able to fulfill that, but I did manage to get my friend Yarn Yoshi on the show, and who knows, maybe Yarn Yoshi will make another appearance.
Oh yeah, I hope not.
Oh, was it not a good show?
Soon as they had some things to say about Yarn Yoshi. That's all I'll say.
Okay, that's fine.
But
he's not everyone's cup of tea. But I'm glad that I'm here at least right now, because I think a lot has happened kind of in the last month. I feel like Melee's kind of in a very we've been saying this the whole year, right? It's a very unusual year for Melee that's very open. And I feel like we're starting to see a little bit more order in the chaos now than maybe we saw like even 2 or 3 weeks ago. I'm just so ready to jump into all of it. But I mean, before we get to all that, Walt, thank you so much for joining us.
Hey, thanks, Edwin, for introducing me, because Wheat does the same bit every time I go on this show and just introduces the other person. So here we are.
It's been a while since Edwin.
I know it has been.
Did you not hear this? Yarn Yoshi and all that. And he didn't even give you. He just said he didn't even introduce you. He just said we're going to be talking to Walt. It wasn't even.
Yeah, you're right. Actually, I think
who's even Walt?
The whole thing.
You don't even go by Walt. You're turned down for.
I got a comment that said something like that pretty recently, where someone was like, I have a feeling you're gonna go by Walt soon, and I'm like, that's my name, so I don't really know like what the path is here, like how we're getting here. But
would you ever just change your tag to Turn?
No.
Okay.
Would you ever change your tag to Gimme? I love calling you Gimme.
Tafo calls me Gimme.
I like calling you Gimme.
Yeah,
I think it's a good one.
See, that's what you kind of want in tag. You want to be able to go by anything. Wheat, obviously, is my preferred. Gimme, hey, that's not bad. That, no one's ever said that. But honestly, if I started to go as Dad, I think that there's worse things to go as.
Yeah, I don't know if I have like filler words like that. Before and down.
Yeah.
I'm gonna change my tag to Bud.
That's not bad. God. That's actually
not
that bad.
You'd be so cool if your name was Bud.
Yeah, you would be our Bud. I'm sorry. All right, let's start the show. I'm ready.
All right, should I introduce Edwin again?
Yeah, go for it.
Edwin, I got a question for you. How many of these? So this is a quarter zip. Is this what you're wearing?
Yeah.
This is what you're opening with.
True. We have a lot to talk about. This is always on my mind. How many of these do you own?
I think I have 4.
Okay. This is good. Maybe we're gonna see these.
You're gonna rotate
like cycle through them. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, what's next to the Yoshi costume in your wardrobe or closet or whatever it may be?
Maybe that'll be a a premium
Ooh,
episode.
a Patron
Ooh.
exclusive. We go through, yes, the Edwin Bunny house tour. Let's make it happen. But for now, that's the Patron exclusive that might come later. But for everyone, for all the plebs out there who don't pay us money, let's talk about what happened at Summit. We took the week off, but we are back. And not only do we have a lot to talk about with Summit, we have a lot to talk about because Smash World Tour is ending. The open aspect of it, the points, is coming to an end this week to coincide with Apex. So we have a lot to talk about here. Maybe I shouldn't be wasting precious minutes talking about quarter zips, but it's honestly knowledge I wanted. So if you want to ask your friend a question, the best way to do so is start a podcast, get to episode 62, and have them on so you can ask them a question. But I think it's time that we fulfill the obligations about Smash. So yeah, let's talk about Smash Summit 14. Going into this, we had a very fun episode. We had an episode with, 10 people on or something. And we had a couple different predictions. I predicted Zain. I know that Deer predicted AMSA. We had a couple different people who were making, I think Webbs also maybe made a Zain prediction. Leffen was predicted by Edwin, and only one person predicted Mango, which was Josh Mann. But it really just goes to show how the majors work right now, is that I feel like almost anyone can win, and we were seeing this parity throughout like every single stage. Great in pools, and Cody looked great in losers. We saw all these different things happening. Walt, I'm gonna turn the table to you. So this is this is like the second summit that we've seen Mango win. But what did you think about something like this? How did this compare to maybe Summit 11 for you?
Well, he did it from winners, which was a change.
Yeah.
I honestly think the fact that Mango, like AMSA, is probably one of his biggest bracket demons who isn't Zain right now, which I find it's like a weird statement to me. It's not like obviously unrealistic when you look at their head to head. AMSA's kind of ahead, I think, at this point. I forget the exact amount, but it's weird to me to make the statement of like at the Big House 10. The fact that AMSA gets Mango twice is his best possible draw to win the tournament, in my opinion, at least. I just think it's so interesting, like the difference between Mango's Big House set in Grands versus how well he played against AMSA. Or did he play against... Oh my god, am I mixing this up? When did he play against AMSA?
He played against AMSA at Summit.
Oh, I'm looking at the bracket right now, but they played in okay. Yeah, but he looked very good overall into AMSA, I think. And then I think his other matchups were just like pretty rock solid. Like IBDW, he has a pretty firm grasp on overall. Hungrybox is like iffy, but like he gets by, and I think it's like if you get over AMSA, you have a really good chance of winning the tournament if you're Mango.
Yeah, I think the interesting thing here is that you look at his Summit 11 win, and it's a win that honestly is going to be held rightfully in high esteem for the rest of his career. Will probably be seen as one of the most exciting, maybe greatest tournament runs of all time. And I think that the difference between these two is just like the ease, right? This was not that hard for Mango, but if you talk about it, yeah, like the individual sets that he played to get there, he played some people who might be considered demons. So honestly, like the difference between his victory here and his victory there, that was like affirming him to be one of the best players of all time in my mind. That was, him winning this very special tournament.
Totally.
This might matter less as a moment, but for what it means for him as a player, I think means a lot for how I view him right now. There was a lot of talk, I will say, in the Summit House studio, in the Summit studio, about is Mango number one? Can he be number one? And we're gonna get into that in a little bit. But first, I want to talk to Edwin Budding. Edwin, what kind of jumped out to you about Summit? Because we had a lot going on here. We had Plup. We hadn't seen him in forever. We had Sunsei beating Leffen again. We had a lot of great moments. But what What stood out to you, Mr. Budding, or Bud,
Yeah, so
as you might be called in the future?
So I think obviously Mango's run is one of the biggest storylines, right? And I think we mentioned before that like when you think of a typical Mango victory at a really big event like Summit or even something like Big House or Genesis or whatever, you imagine like a lot of drama, right? You imagine Mango making a long Lucius bracket run or taking opponents like close.
Hardship,
Yeah. Typically, you kind of imagine him in chaos, right? Like when there's a really chaotic setting where like both players are playing super sloppy in its last stock. You imagine Mango coming out on top of that, right? With this event, it was like this was honestly across a tournament weekend, like just in a vacuum. I think this is the best I've seen Mango play across a whole weekend. He just looked so dominant. It's like he would lose game one against someone like Hungrybox or Amsa and be like, okay, that's not going to happen again. Immediately turn it around the next game. Really playing like quite disciplined, playing really smart, making great adaptations to his opponent. It was almost kind of unusual. Like you don't really see when you think of dominant Mango runs, they're through losers bracket or they're after like kind of he falls down a hole that feels like it's of his own choosing almost. You don't really see Mango dial it up for all 3 days or 4 days or whatever an event, right? So this was a very unusual kind of Mango victory. Now, I do want to say that he won Lost Tech City from winners also, and he won Super Smash Con 2022 from winners. A little bit of drama there with the LOD set and Hungrybox taking him close and everything, but in terms of like just looking way ahead of the field, I have to say this is a one of a kind Mango victory. Now, he's had big victories and followed them up with stinkers, or he's followed them up with performances where maybe he takes a set from someone really good, or maybe he loses to two top 25 players and gets like 9th or 7th place, right? So I don't want to say yet that Mango is number one, but I think that if you're a fan of his, this is a remarkable turnaround from where he was earlier in the year. And I think there's a lot to be excited about. You got Zain at the top. Honestly, I thought this tournament was going to be Zain's until Cody made a miraculous turnaround against Zain.
Super fucked up, actually.
Yeah, and not only did Cody do that, he repeated a similar feat by reverse 3-0ing Hungrybox. Reverse 3-0ing Zain on FD, then going to Hungrybox and doing the same thing on Dreamland. That's one of the most remarkable back-to-back set accomplishments against like two different players that I can recall, right? So I think that's got to be Wheat. I want to throw this back to you for a second, but like it almost felt like I heard some people talking about this a little after the event, and I think I actually agree with this. This kind of felt like a weird inverse, or kind of like maybe inverse is not the right word, but it kind of felt like Mango and IBW kind of swapped roles from Smash Summit 12, where it felt like, the winner won the tournament pretty dominantly, without dropping a set and beating everyone. But the second place person, still had a really great tournament, like beating a bunch of people and having a bunch of strong set showings. That's kind of what this reminded me of, honestly.
Sure. So first off, if you're throwing the ball to me, you're not getting it back. I think Walt has said, I can count the number of words that our guest has said on my own hands. So I will probably dish the ball out, but yes, I think you're right. Mango mentioned it himself that, this kind of did feel like a reverse, and, it didn't feel deflating like the Summit 12 did. And that's not anything against Cody. That is just like, I remember Summit 12 being like, could he do it again? And the answer was a definitive no, not as much as it was at like Genesis 4. But this one this was like more in the cards. When it happened, it felt like everyone knew that Mango was going to win Summit when that was the Grands. But you're right, this was an amazing run. I did make a prediction. I usually don't, but I was feeling in the air. Like I made a set-by-set prediction of who I thought would win. And single time there's a coin flip, I chose the person who I thought played better under duress. And it turns out that like that wasn't really true, right? I was picking Zain over Cody. I was picking like J-Mook over Leffen, which ended up being true. But like if there was someone who I'm like, they're really solid and not shaky, and the other person's like, they're really good but have some variance, I tended to pick the person who didn't have the variance. Regardless, I had Cody making it to second. I really thought that his losers run was really good there. And he is someone who at the Summit studio, I remember some people were saying like, if this person can get past this person, they've got a really good shot at Cody. And I'm just saying, no, they don't. Wizzy does not have a shot at Cody. Plum does not have a shot at Cody. Like, I'd like to say that these players can beat him, and they can, and they will. But at Summit Finals Day, Cody is such a fucking tough player, and he's a player who I feel like is hard to grasp in today's meta because we were so used to attributing like the gods to like their own like special like this person does this person does this. Cody doesn't really have that. Even if you look at someone like Leffen who filled the spot of like token amazing Fox, Cody is even just like he's not as graceful as people had said Leffen was. It's just like Cody just does the right thing. He just goes out there and plays the right way in a way which makes it really hard for people to beat him, which is why it's impressive when you have someone like Mango who can beat his ass. Walt, it's hard to talk about Summit and not want to talk about Grand Finals and talk about who won because it's so important. But it is a tournament that has like all of the best players, and this was a Summit specifically, which you could argue has like the most depth of anything. So before we move on to like talking about Mango more in depth, I think we do have to mention more of what happened here. Walt, do you have anything that you thought was like any like small storyline here, like set histories?
Yeah, I have some questions I want to bring to you guys in the way of just like bringing the melee stats heat, sports analysis style. I want you guys to just say some shit about this. But first, I thought it was very funny. I cannot get it out of my head since Edwin said Cody's run is reminiscent of a Mango's losers run, because I do think 100% that is true for this tournament now that I'm looking at it, because he played 15 straight games against like,
wow,
arguable number one, AMSA, whatever you want to rank him as, probably top 5 easily for these people, I would say. At this point. Yeah. And then immediately gets 3-0'd in grand finals. That is like the de facto Mango losers run, I feel like. But my questions for you guys are, number 1, is Zain a choker? And number 2, is Axe's Fox good? Because those were the 2 things that were on my mind watching that tournament. Because I'll say it, if we're trying to be dramatic here right now, Axe's Fox was really bad at Super Smash Con, and it looked really good to me here. But I don't know. What do you guys think?
Let's take the Axe one first, because I'm sure that Edwin, as the resident Marth here, you've got some things to say about Zain. But Axe's Fox is very fast.
Yes.
And he is a former guest of the show. He came up to me at Summit and thanked me I gave him I let him in on a Southwest deal that was going on during our show. He was like, yeah, it worked out. I got like, I'm not going to be mean to him. I will say that I don't know if the Fox looked very good. It definitely, it brings the question up of like, is it good just because it works? Specifically down throws, right? That is the kind of thing that we were seeing. We were seeing like a set where he almost beat HBox. This was tweeted out, but one of the everyone was watching that set. And one of the funniest things that was Blur took a really big bet with, I think, Vish, that HBox was going to win, and then kept trying to get out of it. He was like, "Can I buy out? Can I buy out?" It was like game 2, and he's like $10 buyout, and he was it was kind of what was happening with everyone. Everyone was like dumbfounded by what they were seeing. Was this Fox player who was ostensibly doing everything wrong, but was working. So I guess the question is that I think Axe's Fox is 2 sets into playing Hungrybox is pretty good, right? Like this is probably a good spot where you would want to see it if this is your second time playing the guy who is the reason you're playing this character. I do have some doubts about this going further. The fact that almost everything he did was fake makes me think that when HBox wises up to this, it won't be as close. yeah, I mean, I guess there's like a pessimistic and optimistic way to look at it, and you can also say if Axe almost beat him doing only fake stuff, then maybe if he does real things in the future, it'll be good.
Did you watch the show video about that? The down
what
throw
does
tech
this
chase?
mean?
It's a what region?
Oh, I saw that.
EU.
Yeah,
He's an EU player. But he made
he
made a video that essentially just says like the down throw tech chase is not real under most circumstances. But it was a really cool breakdown. Like he goes over situations where Axe actually like covers a lot, or basically like every option by doing like forward tilts after the down throws and whatnot. But yeah, no, I know like we don't mean it in like a jabbing, like mean kind of way, but the most blunt way I can say it is the shift from his Fox at SmashCon to his Fox at Summit was
huge.
Was pretty dramatic. Yeah. So
You're right. Yeah, I want to see it happen. And at SmashCon, even though he got 3-0'd and it wasn't close, I was like, this could be something in the future. And I think I might have even said it on the show. But yeah, basically when it comes down to it, if he is giving up openings by down throwing into like nothing, that's not the reward that you want to get off of grabbing H-Box. Especially in that matchup, you probably want to, the people have labs like what you do over in that situation's up thrown to up air, up thrown to bear, whatever. Like you want to make H-Box really pay for it. And if you get H-Box in a situation where he techs the other way and you don't have anything to cover, and all you did was get whatever percent down throw does and you reset to neutral, then I would say, yeah, H-Box would like that. That would be good for H-Box. But yeah, I want to see more of it. Dude, if he takes a set doing this down throw shit, I would be so happy.
you know how many net play people are going to start doing that too, who like haven't seen the analysis videos.
It'll be sick because all of those net play puffs will just like immediately wrest them out of it or something. Imagine doing this to CPU Zero or like Solo Battle or I don't know, like take your pick, right? There's so many puffs that we know who can do this, who can like reaction take chase rest, who can hit the craziest rests. That I'm sure that like this will be dispelled in the near future, but for now it's very fun. Zain, is Zain a choker? Edwin Budding.
Yeah, give us the dirty details here, bud.
I just want to say that like I think after the Ludwig Smash Invitational, I did have the urge where he made like a bunch of crazy comebacks and like reverse 3-0 to Axe and everything. I did have the temptation to think that, the days of Zain losing like a really close, heartbreaking set to another top player. I did think for a moment that like, okay, he's not a choker. It's over. He won this amazing tournament. He beat a bunch of good players. He made a bunch of comebacks on great players. And all I'm going to say is that I don't think Zain overall is a choker, but I think he tends to find himself in a lot of situations that open himself up to heartbreak. That's I don't know if that's maybe is that the same thing as being a choker?
He just finds him in situations where he chokes.
Yeah,
do you consider that a choker?
Yeah, it's just like you keep winning and then like you hit like a forward air on your opponent and it sends them the wrong way. And they're at like 100 and he's at like 120%. And you're like, oh, this is not good. I will say that Zain magically discovers new ways of like, or new variants of that same situation. Or he doesn't discover it. He just like, he falls into it almost. I will say it does seem to happen to Zain an abnormally high amount of times. But
sure,
I have seen Zain make massive comebacks. I've seen him make big turnarounds. So is he a choker? I don't want to essentialize people. Does he lose very heartbreaking games in ways that constitute chokes? Yes, I think that.
I think Walt, you found the issue with the show, which is
you guys won't say mean shit now. That
we like to have working relationships with the people who we talk
I do
about
too.
Here.
No,
this is the great thing about when you're on ESPN or something. You could just say this guy sucks because like, oh whatever. What are you gonna do? You're gonna like meet LeBron?
Yeah.
No.
No, I get
my
it.
issue is that Yeah, no, Zain at this point right now, I have to be proven to that Zain is not a choker,
Right.
Because I think that he can do it, but he is one of the few players who has won a lot of tournaments, and they've all been from winners. Now that isn't to say that like I think that winning from losers is something that is because Mango does it all the time. We kind of think it's more normal than it is. If you actually look at it, a lot of people don't win through losers.
Yeah.
Mango's done it a lot. Armada has
Quite
had
rare.
runs where he's done it. But for the most part, obviously HBox has done it. For the most part, this isn't really how people win. You can look at Cody's wins. They don't tend to come from losers runs Plup doesn't even really put himself in the position to have a long losers run. And right now, Leffen doesn't really either. So I do think it's one of these weird things that he is one of the few players who is good enough to get to the point where he can win. And is also maybe not at the point where he is able to win very consistently if the cards aren't in his favor. I mean, it's the type of thing we've seen Zain destroy people 3-0. And we don't talk about those sets, but it's the sets where he gets reverse 3-0'd or he loses 2-3 to Mango. Those are the ones that we tend to think of more. And a couple, like a year ago or so, maybe more, I said that Armada or Zain plays the Armada position well in Melee, which is just this like unstoppably good guy who it's really cool when you beat him. People like to root for Zain more than they maybe did Armada, but when Zain is losing, it's like really important that he's losing. And when Zain is winning, that's not as important, right? Like we've talked more about Mango winning Summit than we did about Zain winning Ludwig's event, even though you could honestly argue that Ludwig's event was harder. But yeah, no, this is just kind of how like it operates when it comes to someone like Zain. He is just so impossibly good in a way that when he's on, it's just like the Terminator. And when he's losing, it's like, dude, they're beating the Terminator. So yeah, I would love to see him win from losers, but for now, I think that it's kind of eluding him.
Edwin, what do you got?
Well, I will say,
well, you're not hosting the show. You got to answer some questions.
He was raising his hand. I didn't want to interrupt him.
I think that, we talk about Zain so much on the show, right? And, I always have to bring this up because I just never want anyone to take this out of, our comments about Zain out of, their position. Mm-hmm. We're using the standard for Zain of him being a generation defining player, right?
Yes.
He's never officially been number one, but he's someone who for large periods of time has looked like he was on the path to being a Mango or Hungrybox or Armada caliber player when he's active, right? So it's like the standard that we're using and the kind of greatness that we've seen from him in flashes, we've never seen it officially cemented across a whole year, but because we've seen those, glimpses of dominance from him before, it's like we know that he's capable of reaching that top level standard, right? So I think when it comes to noticing moments where Zain might fall short or where someone is able to make a miraculous comeback for him, they feel monumental because in a way it feels like, maybe this is not what everybody wants, but it feels like in a sense that, this is supposed to be Zain's era and he's supposed to be taking over. He's supposed to be the target, right, for every player of this generation to measure themselves up against. And in a way, like, you we mentioned, he is that target. But he hasn't dominated like Mango, HBox, or Armada, right? We've just by virtue of who he is and how the scene has been in the last few years, the way we've seen results, he occupies that position, but it's not as dominant as we've seen in the past of leaders from other generations, right?
Right.
And I think in a sense we kind of make that lap. Right, because we know or at least it feels like he's capable of it. But if he doesn't finish this year at number one, it does maybe still take some of his accomplishments in stride for what they are as periods of dominance. But if he doesn't finish this year one, I mean, does that not make us look back at the last 3 years, right? I mean, this is really the driving force behind Zain's year. Right? Can he be number one? Really become the player of this generation. So I think the standards that we're, when we're saying that Zain chokes a lot or that he's a choker or whatever, we're using it by that standard. And it's such a, like, we would never say the standard for a player like, IBW, right? Or not Jmook yet, but we'll get to Jmook later. But on the topic of heartbreaking losses.
No.
But
yeah, a question about choking.
But when we say this all for Zain, I think a really, a gut response, a lot of people will have listen to this is saying like, oh, that's not fair. Like, you're only holding Zain. You would never hold this standard for any other player. And you know what? I think that's partly right. But I think in Zain's case, how could you not view it like that?
Would you say that you are waiting for Zain?
So speaking of Zain,
next topic.
Wait. I have something to say though. Okay, no, I agree with you completely, Edwin, and I do want to end that question by basically saying my thought on the perspective of, I guess, the circle of life of Melee players is that for whatever reason, Zain is at the length of career, I think, now where his lows, if you call them lows, and a lot of players are at this point now where his marginal losses or his very close ones that can be viewed as chokes or whatever, they're viewed with so much more weight under the eye of the observer, that is us, than when he was the up and comer, new guy that was winning Shine kind of thing. And that's just normal for any type of competitive sport or activity or whatever you're going to do. When you're a new guy, the highs are ranked much, much higher than what they would be. Then you kind of normalize out. And then when you've kind of been around the block, like Mango or someone has for as long as they've been doing it, then it's they lost 3-1 against Amsa. Is Amsa the hard counter to Mango now? Who knows? That's the questions that the average observer would look at for someone who's kind of involved in the scene. So I do think that asking the question about Zain is not totally out of place, because that's kind of what the commoner Melee fan is asking right now when they're just oh yeah, you got reverse swept by Cody with 2 games on FD. That seems kind of out of the ordinary. Has he fallen off? Not really. I don't think so. But
yeah,
have to wait until the rankings come out, right?
You're right, and I think we do have to wait. We have got a couple different events before the year ends, and I think I mentioned this maybe on the Summit episode that this is a pretty unique scenario because we usually don't get a lot of events this big at the end of the year. I mean, if you're old enough to remember the first couple SSBM ranks, the top 100 is basically finished by Big House in October, and it really feels like Big House was the start of so much that was happening in Melee. So we're only halfway through that period right there from Big House till Panda Cup ends the season. Yeah, so we'll have to see. I don't think number 1 is locked up. And the question, Walt, is can Mango be number 1? We talked about Zain. We know that. IBW was a big focus in the first half of the year. Definitely someone who throughout the summer people said might be number 1. Hungrybox is always going to be a lingering question, but right now we have to consider he just won Smash Summit 14. He won Lost Tech City. He won SmashCon. He got second at Big House. Can he be number 1? Walt?
I think the short answer is yes, he can be. Wow. I feel really bad for you guys having to make this ranking because
and you just get to suck off it. You're probably
seriously.
You're gonna voice over all the.
I'm just doing all of my
and number 3, yeah, and you're gonna get paid more than we do for so toiling at the fucking balance. Yeah, no. Sorry.
No, I think most people probably say, yeah, he can be number 1. I think in my personal ranking, I don't think he has as great of a claim to make number 1. I honestly still think that Zain could be number 1, but the thing is, and I kind of touched on this in the video I released today. Actually, it's shaped up to more of a 4-way tie for the running right now between Mango, Zain, HBox, and Cody. So it really kind of comes down to what the panelists or the greater Melee viewer values more. So are we looking at super majors, and then are we looking at strength of bracket, kind of like what kind of upsets or what kind of path was there for that player to get there? So I mean, let me think. Mango at Big House 10, who did he beat to get there?
Well, he beat Zain. I
That's a
believe
good
he
win.
beat Cody.
That's
Well,
a
here,
good
how about this? We're talking about it kind of like it's the end of the year right now, but as I
Mhm.
mentioned, we have a lot of the year to go. Tell me what Mango needs to do to you. Not for you, not to you.
either or.
A nice loving embrace. I don't know. Tell me what he needs to do for you to put him at number 1 at the end of the year. Because we've got Apex coming up, he's not going to Apex. And when it comes to main stage Smash Bros. Tour and Panda Cup, he's probably qualifying for Smash Bros. Tour. I think it's statistically impossible that he does not. Maybe a question of whether or not he goes. Panda Cup, he is qualified for. Main stage, that is an event that he usually goes to. But, I guess he's not signed up yet, so maybe there's question. But yeah, look, we have one event where he's not going and 3 possible ones where he is going. What does he need to do to end up number 1 for you?
I think it's just some of it comes down to like bracket luck in the sense of like you run into your best matchups to make that case, right? So wins over Zain move the needle a lot more. I'm looking up head-to-head counts right now, but I don't know if I would.
That is quite telling that you said that, though, right?
What?
Sorry, this doesn't necessarily like change your answer on if he can be number 1. Isn't that telling? Even just you saying that wins on Zain would move the needle.
Yeah, but I like, isn't that kind of like a RPS situation for all of the people who are in contention for number 1? I think in Mango's case, if he gets or proves more wins against players like Zain or Hungrybox, I don't really, again, not a dig to Cody, but I don't really think beating Cody in another bracket is gonna, push any panelist closer towards putting Mango at number 1. I think Mango's pretty firmly ahead in that head-to-head. So it's really his losing matchups here, which are Zain and Hungrybox.
Well, I think you're on the money right here, because regardless of what Edwin is trying to to insinuate, him beating Zain means a lot for him because he turns a matchup that not only was he lost the first 3 sets or something like that, but it would be a positive matchup for the end of the year if he's able to have 2 more wins. HBox, I think that's a 4-4 record this year. If he has 1 more, I mean, that's the same thing. He came to this year getting dogged by HBox. It was not looking good. So to come out of the year with positive records on these people, one, that means that you have a positive record on the whatever you presume Mango to be, the other 3 people in the top 4. That's really good. So yeah, I think you're right. The Cody wins would obviously be really good, but it's kind of, he's proven that at this point. If you had to say who does Mango need to beat and you have to narrow it down to 1 or 2 people, it's Zain and HBox. Those will move the needle more than anyone else right now.
And Zain, so the head-to-head for this year, it's pretty firmly in Zain's favor right now. So Mango's 2-5 in that matchup in sets for the year, it looks like. And
are you counting LACS?
Yeah, I am.
I think that I was gonna say. I think that might be online.
Yeah, I was gonna say offline is only 1.
I mean, there were still 3
only 1 ahead,
but I mean, I think every player who is kind of in this conversation for number 1 has their kind of secret sauce or formula or whatever with the remaining tournaments they're attending that would allow them more of an argument to get number 1. So yeah, I think in Mango's case, kind of firming up that he can consistently beat Zain is a great start, of course. The HBox wins have come in this year, so it's not like those are totally out of the ordinary. For someone like Cody, it's beating Mango, I think, is one of the big ones too. These kind of hidden jigsaw pieces that we're missing in this puzzle right now. Zain, for instance, is just winning the tournament. I think just showing he can keep winning events is probably the biggest argument that we can get for him, because he kind of has a hard lock on IBDW, or not IBDW, HBox. Kind of is beating up Mango pretty bad. Cody's an iffy matchup right now. I think every single player, it's just so hard to say will they be number 1, right? Because I think they all have soft and hard counters in different areas. So that's why to me it's interesting that these winter tournaments probably matter a lot in that scope of things when it comes down to how the brackets shake out.
Yeah, I mean, it's really going to come down to who wins at this point. And I think there's a real like if it ends up being a toss up, then we have a real interesting end of the year on our hands. Edwin, what do you think about this?
I really want to kind of flesh out this point on soft counters a little bit, because I think one of the most fascinating dynamics about Melee this year is the fact that a lot of these, head to heads within the forget even the contenders for number one. I mean, just within the top tier of play, the top 8 or whatever that we have, a lot of them have kind of like flipped around in their dynamics, right? So I think like if you told me a year ago that like a really hard bracket for Zain is going to have IBDW and Mango's Fox, right? Like a year ago. But, I think at this point in the next year, Zain will have a really good shot against the top Sheik and Axe, right? Like, I think one of the really fascinating things that we've seen this year is that a lot of the matchups that we might have been tempted to take for granted have actually like totally flipped, right? So that's one of the most like at least for me, that's one of the coolest things about the top level metagame and where we're at right now, right? Because what are we, right? Like I think Zain won each of his last sets against Jmook, Leffen, and Plup. And, there was a point in the year where he was losing to all 3 of them, and it looked like that was going to be his hard bracket. So I think one of the really interesting things that we're seeing is that for a lot of these like soft counter matchups, these players are coming in like prepared to turn those trends around, but maybe at the cost of losing another matchup that they were previously dominant in, right?
Or the cost of a flight if you're Zain and you want to fly Swift in to get 3 hours of practice before a tournament. But
true.
Go on.
Isn't it interesting how he got free VIP this summit? That didn't tend to do anything.
It's just suspicious, if you ask me.
Didn't really work because he didn't really have to play either of the 2 Pikachus who were in bracket that much.
Sorry, I cut you off though. Keep going, Edwin.
No, I mean, like that's all I wanted to say. So I think for me, it's like when it comes to number one, obviously a lot of this is going to depend on what the other leading contenders do, right? like Mango, if he wins a tournament and Zain gets like 7th or something, and IBW doesn't do well, and Mango wins over HBox, I think that'll be enough to move Mango even further into the discussion and making it likelier that he'll end up in number one. But even if Mango got like 2nd, and like let's say that Jmook won a major, right? But Mango got 2nd to him and outperformed the other 2, right? There's so many different factors that go into this. So I think for Mango, what I would need to see from him to make me really, really confident is that not only would I want to see him continuing getting like top 2 or 3 at this tournament and continue to accrue a volume of head-to-head wins in the top level over just like only IBDW or only HBox or whatever. I would want to see him definitely like continue this top caliber performance. And I think the thing with Mango that if I were a Mango fan, what would worry me is I would worry about the kind of post victory hangover. Like I think he's favored. But if you give me Mango versus a top 25 player, I don't think that's as guaranteed as it necessarily might or should feel like it is if you want to be number one. So I think shout out to Pipsqueak indeed. But I think for Mango, before even we're talking about his ability to compete at the top level, we're talking about his spread of wins. What's a hard matchup, what's a good matchup. And we've seen a lot of those change over the year. Over the year as it's happened. But the one thing with Mango is, if you want to be number one and you want to cement that for the year, you can't be dropping sets or you can't be looking vulnerable against the top 25. You got to make it to winner semis each time or winners finals.
I mean, like the fact of the matter is though, a lot of the top players, I think in contention have really bad losses. I think, or like not good losses. Right. You know what I'm saying? Like I can't, off the top of my head, I can't think of Cody's worst loss.
Cody lost to Krugo.
Unless we count Swooper.
Cody lost to Moki. Cody lost to Swooper. Like, yes. Well, first off, this is a regional. It does count.
Okay, yeah. Okay,
Sorry,
cool.
Cody.
Yeah, I'm totally counting it too for the record. I just didn't know.
I didn't know where
we stood.
It was a one-off event, which a lot of people went to. Yeah, like he's got those losses. You know, Leffen obviously has a Moki loss as well. Has got both Sunsei losses, has a Triff loss. HBox has a couple of his, you know, None, S2J, KGH. You look at Mangoes, he's got Pipsqueak, he's got fucking Fizzwiggle.
Plug.
Like he's I mean, HBox has a Pipsqueak loss too. Like, right, like look at this. Like, it's so easy to rattle off all their losses in a year where you couldn't really have done that in the past. This was definitely a lot harder to like try to accrue that list of losses in terms of top players. But yeah, this year they are, not only is there parity among themselves, as we talked about, like the shift between Zain versus the Sheiks and now Zain versus the Spaceys, or Mango versus everyone. But there's parity between like ranks that we didn't think would really get there. You know, if you looked at the first couple of years of the SSBM rank, being top 10 means that you had like a 1-in-15 record versus the top 5, and now it's like, cool, dude, you beat IBW once, yeah, get in fucking line, right? That's kind of how it is right now. Yeah. So it is pretty crazy. I'm going to just put it in concrete terms, though. We're talking about if Mango get number 1, and I'm going to say yes, he has to win 2 events before the end of the year, because I think if he wins less than 2 events, or fewer than 2 events, I guess.
So you're saying out of the 3 that are main stage, Smash World Tour and Panda Cup, if he wins 2 of those,
I think if he wins 2 of
he's
those,
in really solid. Okay, I can agree with that.
Because I think that there is we don't like to talk about the human element in ranking unless HBox gets ranked below JMOOC, and then suddenly this is the topic of conversation.
You read my mind.
But there is some human element in terms of, I think that people, whether or not they know it consciously, they do tend to view results that happen at the end of the year a little more important than once at the beginning of the year. And it's like both true and not true to an extent, because when I am making my ballot, I try to divorce those things so far that I even don't really look at where it was. I mean, I want to treat a win at Genesis more than a win at fucking like salty spittoon. but in terms of when they were in the year, I try to not think about that. But I think, yeah, if Mango ends up winning Summit, he wins, take your pick, right? He wins main stage, wins Panda Cup, whatever. He would win the majority of tournaments at that portion of the year. And he would just have this push at the end of the year where we wouldn't really worry about Fizzwiggle. And, we might not worry about those losses to Zain at the beginning of the year, or losses to Mango, or losses to HBox at the beginning of the year, because he's winning everything right now. And maybe that's not how it's supposed to be. And I wouldn't even say that I would personally do that, but I think that would be the general tenor of like the world and the Melee community. I think if he wins 1, I think it's close, but I think that Zain gets it. And, that's basically what Zain's going for right now in my mind, is that he needs to just kind of, if everyone wins 1, I think Zain gets number 1. If someone wins 2, that's a little scary. So right. We get into the situation where if Cody wins 2, Cody might end up number 1. And if we're talking HBox, dude, I do not know, because I want you to sell me on HBox, because I am looking through. HBox is this type of person who we're like, yeah, he's not really going to beat any of the players, but he's pretty good. He's 2-6 with Zain. He's 1-4 with IBW. He's 1-2 with Leffen.
But what about that JMOOC record? Give me that JMOOC record.
He's 4-4 with Mango, losing the last however many. I think it's 4 of the last 5. Those don't look good. And the only way that it looks kind of good is when you say he's 9-1 with JMOOC.
Say it. There it is.
That's the only way it looks good, is you add in this JMOOC record. And at that point, does that matter that much to me, that he is like beating the shit out of this one guy and losing to like almost every other person? And I don't know, because he's not really winning these tournaments. He's going to a lot of tournaments.
Mm-hmm.
And he is, he's got 5th at Genesis. He got 2nd at Pound. He got 3rd at Smash Summit. He got 3rd at Battle BC. He won Gommel. There you go. He had to DQ out a Double Down because he came into a venue with a disease and refused to wear a mask. He won Wave Dash. I don't know if I really consider that a huge major, but it had people who, like, it's juiced right now because it had Mango, even though Mango wasn't in tournament winning shape at the time. He got 2nd at SmashCon. He got 3rd at Shine. He won Riptide. He got 3rd at Lost Tech. He got 5th at Big House. He got 2nd at Ludwig. He got 4th at Smash Summit. God, I hope that wasn't as boring as I thought it was. But like, there were a lot of tournaments there, and he won a few of them. But there were a lot. So his path to victory, to being number 1. For me personally, I think he really needs to like win these. He needs to win Apex. He needs to then, I guess, he can drop a tournament, but honestly, at this point, like the way that he has been performing at all these tournaments, maybe this is the ultimate proof that it doesn't matter if you go to a lot of things. A lot of people say, well, if I go to more things, it'll be bad for my rank. Yeah. Maybe you point to HBox and you're like, people still say this guy can get number 1. He's got losing records to almost everyone.
I think if HBox RTC rests more than once in the next few tournaments, then he's totally in contention.
No, he's jumping too late. Too early. He's too high. He's like resting like right here, and the fox is right here. He's gonna Phantom one of them, and then he's never gonna go for it again. I swear.
With the number 1 question, I want to flip the JMOOC HBox thing around and give you just a straight up question. If JMOOC wins all 3 of these tournaments, is he in contention for number 1?
Yeah.
Where do we put JMOOC here? Because controversially, as you guys are aware, he was at number 3 on summer 2022.
Correctly, but okay.
I know.
But like, there's still controversy.
I feel like JMOOC is kind of like the, like, no pun intended, like the needle in someone's side, like thorn in someone's side kind of thing. For some of these players who aren't HBox. So I don't know. Like, does JMOOC throw a wrench into this entire equation that we're talking about what it takes to be number 1? Maybe.
Well, I mean, I think at this point we've got Apex and we've got 3 tournaments back to back to back, and those could change so much because we're talking about these things right now as it stands. Right, we're like, oh, Zain is 3-2 with Mango. Right, it's possible that he could be 7-2 with Mango at the end of this, or he could. He could be like a heavy losing streak to Mango. Maybe Mango's like 5-3. There's so much that could change here. These like very important things in terms of head-to-head player, top player records, and major victories. That if JMOOC has 3 tournaments to his name, that's just about as much as some other people do. So that is definitely a contention. And if he's able to do that with continuing the records that he has, then yeah, why not, right? Like, that's where we're at right now. If AMSA wins them, sure. If I think you get to the point where maybe if Leffen wins these, maybe, and then you kind of have to start going down before it really starts to becoming like, yeah, if Laud wins everything, I still don't think he's number 1, right? Like, you got to get maybe a little far down before you start saying stuff like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, like this is just such an insane year where we got so much riding on the end of the year, and it feels like we've seen everything. Like, Edwin referred to this earlier, that like it seems really chaotic, but I could probably make a top 5 that I'm really happy about and like feels correct in the moment. That top 5 could also be like flipped on its head by the next month or so, just because of how crazy it's been. So yeah, I mean, it's going to come down to what we're going to see at Apex. It's going to come down to main stage, Smash World Tour, and Panda Cup. Who's going, who's performing, and it's really going to be hard to say anything until then. But what I can say is that, yeah, I think that Zain is the guy to beat right now. Cody, Mango, they are hot. They just need to make the late push. And like you mentioned, HBox, JMOOC, maybe even Leffen, Plup. They're not out of it completely, but really, really just need to like win
Pretty
everything
heavy
to even
lift.
have a chance.
I have a question for you guys as kind of like
What's a
the
question?
I know I'm not the host of this event, but I'm like, this is just out of genuine curiosity, and you don't have to answer this now because I imagine this would go into a very deep rabbit hole. But with like the frequency of how, I guess, like there's so much tournament density in like Q4, let's say, of this year, does that make you guys think that it would be more prudent to do like a halfway point ranking where we would do 6-month ranking instead of a year of review? Like, as the people who work on these things, would that make more sense? Because that's just been the thing on my mind for so long, where it's like, I don't think there's any argument for Mango to be number one if you're considering January to June kind of thing, but we're only talking about the latter half of this year. And I don't know, just it's just been kind of bugging me since we started talking about it.
We're not Smash 4. We're not doing half year rankings.
Okay.
Maybe,
fair enough.
get the mix up back. Get the mix up back. I'll talk about this for 2 hours.
Okay.
Because this is literally a topic that I could go on forever. And it's a great question.
Yeah.
But yeah, one that maybe needs its own avenue to really fulfill itself. I guess short answer is that I don't think so. I think that having a full year ranking is really important to Melee. And yeah, I mean, it just goes to show the growth of things. And then if you want to talk about like having a 6-month ranking fucks like everyone below a certain tier, because it's like, not only do you have to go to 3 or 4 tournaments a year to get ranked, you probably should be doing that in 6 months, which not everyone is able to do because of their schedules. But
sure.
Regardless, you know, we're talking about all these big events at the end of the year. One of the big events that's going to mean a lot is Smash World Tour. And Smash World Tour is one of the 2 different circuit finales that we have coming up. The difference between Smash World Tour and Panda Cup is that it is a point-based system, something that I don't really think people cared about, to be honest. I'm going to be blunt. It is something that I don't know if people really tracked, but this is why we're having this segment right here, because I am a nerd who did care about it and did care to track it, and we've got some interesting stuff coming along. So I'm going to go through who basically is locked in for Smash World Tour. They've already... I know I've been announcing people who they have deemed locked in, but it actually is going probably a little further than you think. And the cool thing is that you can watch Apex 2022, and not only can you watch the probably pretty good matches that are going to be played there, but you can watch for, you know, knowing who's going to make Smash World Tour, because Apex is a gold event, is the last event of the season, year, whatever they call it. And it really is going to end up mattering for a couple different players down at the bottom. So let's get into who makes it first. So I don't know if either of you two know about this, but they're going to do like a 32-player bracket. Last 2 are decided by LCQ at the event. So that leaves 30 players. Those are going to be kind of divided between people who place versus points, and then it's people who had the highest points in their region. Okay. So you have like the highest player in North America, HBox gets in. He's the number 1 player. AMSA gets in because he's the number 1 player in Japan. And you go through there, you know, you've got Professor Pros, the European candidate, Riken, the Sheik from Chile. He's going to be the South America representative. Josh Man's not going, so we do have, they just announced it today, they have Sock, who is at last year's Smash World Tour. Fox, main with, I believe, a Sheik secondary at this point. Should be cool to see. Definitely was someone who ended up doing pretty well at the last event, so I'm looking forward to them. So we've got some more to see. And then, like this is what's interesting about Smash World Tour, is that we have people like Sala. Sala is the Falco player who won Uprising in Korea. They're going to be the Korean representative, which is the wild card region, which is anyone who's not in one of those regions. So yeah, it's like, I wouldn't imagine that Sala would be invited to one of these events. That's one of the things that Smash World Tours bring to this. But yeah, let me really, really quickly go through who is basically qualified for points, and then we can talk about kind of what we might think at the end, like who makes it, and then get into Apex. So yeah, we've got HBox, AMSA, Zain, Mango, IBW. Those are the top 5 in terms of points. Like I said, HBox is the North America representative. AMSA is the Japanese one. Fiction, S2J, Professor Pro, Kudoran. And then we've got another player from Japan at the 10th slot, which is Ingen, who we saw last week. Yeah,
That's
Ingen, they had a couple gold and platinum events in Japan. Ingen was the beneficiary of winning those. And so we're going to get to see them. We've got Jmook, Pipsqueak, shout out to Melee Stats, Riken, as we talked about, Frenzy, Leffen. We've got another Japanese player who's benefited from placing wealthies, which is God. I asked Amsa how to pronounce this at one point. It's like Hutaka. Edwin? How do you say it? Hutaka.
Hutaka.
Yeah. Is that okay? So maybe Walt. I don't know if you're working.
Wait, I just pulled up the Wikipedia, and that does not look like how it's spelled. So I'm gonna butcher that real bad.
It's obviously not a name that is originated in like those types of letters, right? So I think the Anglicization of them can change, but yeah, okay. I've seen Hutaka written out a lot, but who knows? They're a Fox player from Japan. I think that they have gone from during the pandemic, someone who's not really well known to being one of the best players in Japan. So that'd be cool to see.
Cool.
Lucky, Mech, B-Bats, J-Flex, Lod, Skurzo, Wizrobe. We've got Meds coming in as someone who qualified for Panda Cup. He also got enough points from a couple different events to make it. Moki is basically probably safe at this point, but we get to this scenario where these people at the end are going to be the ones where that's going to be decided by all of this Apex stuff. So we've got Moki right there. We've got Null, who ended up DQing out of Save Mr. Lombardi, so he did not get a lot of gold points.
Mm-hmm.
Chape, who I believe might be going to a local, which has some silver points to it, so that might change. Ben, who's going to Apex. Amita, who's going to Apex. Spark is going to Apex. XL0, who is qualified through being the Central American representative. So, we've got a lot of cool scenarios right here where it's going to come down to, a couple of these players are going to end up making it. It's really just Spark, Amita, Ben, Chape. You look at those players, I think maybe 3 of those are going to make it, or 2 of those are going to make it. And then, it's interesting because of some people dropping out already because of the fucking chess boxing shit. But we have a little bit of a better view of who's going to be lower down, who's going to make it, but it still makes it confusing. So I think it's going to be interesting. I for one want to say Chape makes it in. I think that if you look at his points, he's done very well at these South American events and has been one of the people who has been getting a lot of points through silver, through smaller local events. And if he's able to place well at this silver event that's supposedly happening, then I think that probably gives him enough points. And fuck it, let's see Spark in. Spark has to get top, I think maybe top 16, top 12 or something like this. It's going to be tough because he has to outplace Ben by maybe 2 different placings. But I think that would be something that he's able to do. So yeah, that's going to be really cool. I just wanted to give a little run through there because it's something that we've kind of talked about in the abstract before, but we haven't really talked about actually who ends up making it. And maybe this was a horrible segment, and maybe you will post a comment on it. But hey, that's just free engagement. So that's going to be something to watch out for at Apex right there. Performances of Ben, Amita, Spark, and obviously Moki, who is at Apex and is just going to probably shoot up even higher. But yeah,
are those the really only players who can make it by points at this point?
Yeah, you got really weird things you would need Rishi to win.
Okay, I was gonna say what's the odds Triff gets in, because Triff is
Triff isn't going to anything else anymore.
Okay,
yeah, we're at the point where this is the last week, and even if you squeeze points out of a silver, it really, you got to really be close. So you've got players we've got some Apex players who are going, who are pretty high up there, like Rishi. I know Zain and Polish and Aklo are going to Apex, but yeah, they have to literally play some of the best melee they've ever played, place top 3 maybe, and then and then they're in, which is not impossible, right? We've saw Polish place top 3 at a big Special Tour event before, but it's maybe something that is not incredibly likely. So I'm interested to see what comes out of this. But yeah, let's talk about Apex because we're talking about what's going to happen in the Smash World Tour. It all matters about Apex, but let's get into Apex itself. Walt, you've gotten to see a similar point than I did. What are your thoughts on Apex?
Is this a trick? I don't know what. I don't know how to answer this. So to defer this question, Edwin, you look like you've been wanting to say something for a minute while I think of an answer to that.
Look, I'll be honest. When they brought back the Apex brand, I was not happy. I think Apex has its place in Melee history. It used to be one of our biggest majors. It happened every year. It was a scene defining major for better or worse. And I would have said that near the end it was definitively for worse. I think the brand itself is really toxic. Just like personally, I've spoken with people that were in the scene, like leaders of the scene around when Apex was like one of the big forerunners or one of the big series, and all of them, ubiquitously had really bad things to say about the series, both because of Alex Strife being the head behind it, the event itself not being particularly well run, coming at the start of when Smash started to break out into the more like streaming and like public competitive gaming sphere and everything. So I was very hesitant to like support this event in any way, and in a way I still kind of am a little I'm on the fence about bringing back the name, even if it's something symbolic. But I understand that at the same time, this is a new team running it. It does seem like the people working on Apex this year, in addition to obviously being different than the old staff and everything, it does seem like these are people who want to bring something cool to Melee. I suspect keeping the Apex tagline probably has something to do with like sponsor appeal, that they would only want to do it if
I don't know about that, but yeah.
My guess is that
I think it's a fair guess, and thank you for taking the blow on that immediately, because I didn't know what direction we were going to take on this conversation.
Apex has a really toxic history in the Smash scene. It has a very important history also. But yeah, when it came out, I was pretty disappointed that the brand was returning. But for whatever it's worth, it's in the scene now. It has a lot of really big players attending the event. I think again, like I mentioned before, it has a different staff that's a bit more, representative of the scene nowadays. I know that Kevin Deere is running it. Kevin Deere is a very friendly guy. He runs a good series in Battle of BC. If he was successful there, I hope this event works well. I hope this one of the cool things I'll say about the entrant field here is that this is not one of those kind of events where it's like 6 out of the top 10 and then there's a bit of a drop off after that. I think as far as the depth goes in this event, this is actually quite good. I mean, there's got to be like 20 or 30 top 100 players here, so I think we're going to see a lot of like really interesting matchups when it comes to like that real that top 32, top 64 kind of matches you could expect to see in winners. I think we'll see a lot of interesting combinations. There's some people here also that we haven't seen in a long time, right? So I think we haven't seen make it like a really deep bracket in a while.
There's a certain Falco player who I haven't seen in forever.
Wait, I'm looking at
former top 10
at the projections here.
Yeah, that's not who I was referring to, but now that you mention it, yeah, I kind of wonder what he's doing here.
Yeah, I hope for the best for the people who I know who are involved with Apex, but I do have to hesitate before
I'm just seeing all this.
I have a lot of hesitation before I really want to praise Apex, and who knows, maybe like
yeah, I mean, so
this is a generous thing I could say. People thought the Evo brand was bad, and then what happens is they hired one of literally the best people who's in the entire esports business, which is Rick the Hodo, and he built it and put a lot of care into it and hired the right people. And now Evo is a brand that had a fantastic 2022 event and has gone from everyone going, ugh, do we have to go to Evo, to like being like, fuck man, I really want to go to Evo.
But Evo also has 10 billion X Smash money, so that's kind of like, it's a tough sell to be like, what is the cost of change? I know you, and I agree with both of your points, but it's kind of like, listen, if at the end of the day it's a tournament, I enjoy watching tournaments. I enjoy Melee. I love this game. I will still watch the tournament. But when the cost of changing an event name is essentially free, I don't see why you wouldn't just do that. Because, like, again, like, this is an outsider's perspective looking in, but someone who, in my opinion, I think I have a pretty decent understanding of marketing and branding overall. You're just asking for trouble to do this. I don't know why. Like,
you're mad because you want the Apex brand to put on your little sweatshirts.
I do, and I'm tired of admitting that I don't. But, no, I just think like it just seems, we're what, 7 years removed from the event. It's like,
yeah, literally
you can brand under something totally different.
Further from the last Apex than I think it was. The last Apex was from the first Apex. Like,
yeah, and it's like, there is a level of disconnect where I'm sure there are people in the community who don't know about the history that well because it is 7 years ago, right? But for the people that do, and it serves as like a way of like being a trigger or being something that's just like unpleasant to think about for it. It's like, what, again, I respect all of the people who are involved in the back end because they get way too much shit about this stuff when it comes to organizing events and the amount of money, time, and just like heartache that it gives them at almost zero praise from anyone in the community for it. So I get it from that perspective, but it's like, again, the marketing value of changing the name is pretty high overall, and I don't really think you lose out on. My personal opinion, I don't think you lose out on potential sponsors or branding to change the name from Apex to something else, right? And it just seems like an overall good move for optics.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, right, this is something that we don't really know. I just will say that you're right. There are a lot of people who have a pretty negative view of the Apex brand. All of them probably do happen to be more lost in the sauce than the people of the positive view. So maybe that comes into play when they think about it. But what it comes down to is that any mistake that is made by Apex is going to be a lot harsher on them than if it were a different tournament series. Yep. Like, if they do anything poorly, if they make any questionable decisions, which you could argue that letting Westballs in, a player who this is his first major of the year, he very notably got banned from Genesis for reasons that are not public, right? Like, we don't know. But being banned from one tournament series and let into another might raise some questions. And if you are Apex, you probably don't want any questions raised about you, because the things that might be like bad for some events are probably going to be a lot worse for Apex because they already have that association.
It's the good player timeline, man. You get one bad loss and everyone starts talking about you not being good or not being able to be number one, man. It's just, I don't know. It's
they're too, right. I mean, everything has to go right. And you're right. I don't want this to go to the staff because I have been in situations where you're kind of like, if I don't do this, someone else will. And I can't guarantee that they'll do it as well as I will. Like, you don't really necessarily want to see something fail. And I'm sure that like production and people behind the scenes, right? We mentioned Deer's great. That like, it's hard to harp on Apex without also being like, no, the people running it are good. But yeah, let's see. It's going to be interesting to see. And honestly, something that I didn't even plan to talk about on the show, but it is important to me that like it gets mentioned. I would personally probably like to see another tournament series have success. I do get a little confused when I think about whether or not I want the tournament series named Apex to have success. But as far as the event that's going to be happening, I wish them the best. We need fewer events that fail in the Smash community. But yeah, maybe a rebrand would be nice. But here, let's get into bracket, because you talked about it, Edwin. This is an event that I honestly didn't think would be that stacked. And it had, they touted HBox. I thought it was going to be another like HBox wins over JMOOC event, but this has really become a pretty big event, and one that we talked about. If you are going to be contending for the best in the world, this is probably one you want to win. So we've got a couple interesting players here. Does anyone want to pick out any sort of upset potential players or players who are able to go on a big run? I know people have bracket has maybe changed since then, but I know people are talking about Moki's potential or Axe's Fox coming back out. But is there anyone that is spoken to either one of you in terms of like bracket potential here?
I can't like speak on a specific like path, but one person who I think absolutely should not be slept on is Sir Maris. That guy has been that guy's been a hidden boss in like West Virginia for a really long time. He used to you could kind of find him like his once a year performance would be at like Mountain of Dreams or something, where he'd like beat a top Midwest player, take a set, and like beat the rest of West Virginia or whatever. But I think this year has actually been like. I think this is like, I don't want to call it a breakout yet because we have to wait till the ranking is out. But I think if there's a year for Sir Maris to like officially cement himself top 100 and finish in that echelon.
Oh, you call it a breakout, man. Come on. Yeah. He's got the wins. He's got, Sir Maris has some really amazing wins. You know, we obviously there was the Magi set at I want to say it was Big House. I mean he had other tournaments where he had a Riptide tournament. Like he's just beating all these good players who are like probably just under the radar of being top 50, top 100 maybe even, but has just like so few bad losses and is able to put together like a pretty solid resume. Yeah, it's one of those things. I don't even know if I'd call it a breakout because I think that everyone who already knows about Sir Maris is not surprised that they are suddenly, possibly being in the top 80 or whatever they're going to be.
I actually haven't seen a lot of them, but Peach Main, right?
Yeah.
I think. Yep. Okay, that's like the extent of what I've seen. Maybe I think I saw the Magi set, and that's pretty much it from my side. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, the Magi set at Big House Army, whatever that matters to you as like when you think about.
Yeah.
They beat Ober and Real Thing also, so apparently they have it all out for the Falcos.
Yeah.
Yeah, like they obviously have really good wins, and it's this thing. I mean, you talked about it before, like a player who's not been able to do much, and now suddenly attends more. I really want to see what Apex looks like for Sir Maris because that is by no means a clean victory if Sir Maris is in your path.
I just want to point out. A projection on top 96 is set between LL Bean, LI, and Nancy's Bitch, and I just find that really funny to me.
Who you got there?
I gotta go with Nancy's Bitch, man. I'm sorry.
Okay, all right.
I know it's on the projection, so it's kind of I'm kind of just following the trend here, but.
So I think Nancy's Bitch is I think that's Smokey. I think Nancy's Bitch is Smokey.
Oh, is it?
Pulling the curtain back a little, are we, Edwin?
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I totally have them. Yeah.
Sometimes you just gotta let people believe that Nancy's Bitch is a person.
I wanna root for Nancy's Bitch. Yeah. My player that I would have loved to see qualify to Smash World Tour, but after your explanation of the numbers seems like it is truly impossible. Hashtag Franz sweep, man.
Yes, I knew you were gonna say it.
Yeah,
you're right. This is the one time you're allowed to love your Dr. Mario.
Oh my gosh,
your Mario compatriots.
I mean, I've been a Franz believer for a long time, so their bracket looks pretty okay. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Franz definitely is someone who kind of similar to Sir Maris in a way. Franz has been top 100. But has really put all their chips into 2022, and it's he's going to Save Mr. Lombardi. He already went to. He's going to Apex. I think he's going to do main stage and probably going to do Panda Cup because that's a SoCal event. He's been already going to stuff like the Big House. Obviously had a pretty good run there. Yeah, I mean he is a player who is like. Gone from someone who was like, oh yeah, Franz is okay, to probably, honestly knocking on the door of top 50. I think that is a great pick. Rishi in his path. That's not bad.
I mean, Franz took a game on Zain at the first main stage. That was a thing.
beat he beat Kadoran in a best of 3 at Save Mr. Lombardi last week. So
I think the biggest, like, for Franz too, it's like, because I've interviewed with them before about just kind of like their thoughts on this character. It's like it's just Falco. Like, you just can't play against fiction is really the biggest thing.
Well, they have a set win on Bobby Big Balls, don't they?
They do. Yeah. But Falco and Puff in particular are just way too impossible for that character, I think. Like, it's just just a lot of work. Falco. Puff is just like not winnable, I think, in a lot of matchups. But
yeah. Well, how about this? I want to talk about first off, shout outs to Melee Stats Lunar Dusk, who has currently in his path is Bobby Big Balls. That could be doable. I think that Lunar is a player who kind of maybe not too much fanfare, has been putting up close to a top 50 resume of just going to events, doing really well. Has very few bad losses, has a lot of good wins, and if you want to look to a reason why he might be able to beat Bobby Big Balls, he also has a Magi win from was that Shine, Edwin? Shine 2022, right? He beat Magi?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, he beat
like Magi and Chem from there.
He beat Magi, he beat Chem there as well. Yeah, he's definitely got a list of very good top wins, and Bobby is someone who can be absolutely suffocating, and Bobby is someone who also he lost to Franz, lost to Ringler. Like, he's definitely able to lose to these kind of weirder characters. So I really want to see Lunar do this. I know that Lunar had like a last hit set with Ginger at Riptide, so getting to see him get another
too, right? Was it close? I can't remember.
I don't remember. I was actually not able to watch that one. I was in Smash Camp without any internet, but I did get to see his Josh Man win. So
why do I think it was Game 5? I don't know. Am I like smoking weed for that?
I don't know, but regardless, even if regardless of what happened in that mega set, we know that he's very good. So beating Bobby Big Balls is definitely on his definitely something he can do. If he wins, he gets to play H-Box, who he will Puff Ditto. I don't know what he does for that, but regardless, that'll be fun. But another pick I want to make is a run back from Genesis this year, Genesis Losers Bracket, which would have been for 65th place, Moki versus Wally.
Nice.
The legend of Wally goes very deep, and this is someone who, with all love and admiration, I will say, is one of the more high variance players we've seen. He's definitely a player where if you get Wally in the peak Wally, you're going to have to watch out, because that's the guy who 3-0 Zuppy and beats Zain and messes up Skurzo, and the wins of that Wally are very long. Then there's the Wally who does not want to
sends Wally to the wood chipper. There's
the Wally who loses to Pleba, and the Wally who plays Puff. There's a couple different Wallies out there, and Moki, that Moki might be playing the wrong Wally, because Wally is very comfortable in the Fox matchup, and has done very well versus top players. It's kind of the lower level or the lower end top 100, maybe just outside top 100 players who he's been struggling with. So if he's able to get to Moki, play in a peak position, he, I think, took Moki to game 3 at their set in Genesis. I would not be shocked to see that come again, to have another close set. So I want to see that. If Wally wins that, he plays the winner of Ginger Swooper. That could be very interesting as well. Yeah, so Wally and Lunar Dusk are going to be my 2 picks for people to look out for. Probably not the coolest picks I can make, but I honestly think that they can make a run. Edwin, is there anyone else who you want to mention, or should we just talk about who can win the entire thing?
Just really quick, I want to mention that we could have a pound run back of Amsa versus Polish right before top 16. I think that's a very juicy matchup.
Yeah, that would be really cool. Polish, someone who's, I wouldn't say in desperate need of having a little bit of a career renaissance, but someone
they took a step back a little bit in results.
If they're able to end the year with having another marquee win, I think that'd be really important for them, because they've had a year that is still really
even
good.
If they beat the same person.
Yeah, throw 2 wins on there. He beat Amsa. 2-0, who cares? That's great. But yeah, that'll be interesting to see. I think that's a great one to pick out. Speaking of AMSA, what are your thoughts on Edwin? Do you think AMSA can win this thing?
I think that Amsa. I think that he has better than 50-1 odds to win this tournament. I have my prediction actually entirely written out in story form. So I'm gonna say that Amsa can win it, but he's not my pick. So I'll get to my pick.
You're not going to spoil yourself early if you want to. I guess, is this on Monday Morning Marth?
No. It's my college friends and I were talking about Apex, and I told them, "You want to know what'll happen at Apex? Okay, this is what's gonna happen." And I wrote out this.
You wrote the script.
That's beautiful. It's crazy that you're doing this on your spare time, not putting it out. But this is beautiful. We'll wait to get to you. We'll end.
Thank you.
The predictions with you, Walter. I don't know if you had time. Do you want a couple minutes? Right?
I've been thinking about this. So
hero's journey.
I didn't write a script.
Quick free acts.
Here's my hotly contested, super up for debate, really, really hot take for this tournament, which, after now hearing what Anok has to say, is going to make him laugh really loud. And I don't know if I truly believe this will be the outcome, but this is what my heart says. Amsa and Jmook are projected to play for top 8. The winner of that set can win the tournament.
Sure.
Okay.
That's my heart read. My logical read is probably a Zain win for me.
Yeah, I think Zane's a great pick. Zain is always, you know what? Zain very rarely is a bad pick for any of these. We've done this show for how long, and people have been picking.
Yeah,
Zain a lot.
It's just pretty safe, I think.
Yeah, what's gonna happen?
But I was looking through projections, and like the thing is, if it goes, and it never really goes this way, like as we know, but if we do get Amsa Jmook in this particular sector of like a top 8 qualifier, so that means what? We get Amsa or Jmook into IBDW, which Jmook is a little bit better into Cody than Amsa, I would argue. And then what? For winners finals, Zain potentially. I think it's like, for the Jmook win, that's like a really, really strong path, right? Because you get HBox on the opposite side of winners. He can just lose before he even sees Jmook, and then that's just like a path for Jmook to win the tournament. That's why I think that set in particular would be really important if it actually gets there. But who knows? Maybe we'll get Axe Fox again.
Who knows? Well, I mean,
upsets.
What I have projected on here in terms of what Smash GG projects is Hungrybox, Moki, and Zain Axe. I don't think that's projected straight seeding though. So I'm interested in if that gets swapped or if that's going to just play out. But that really does affect it, right? If you have to play Axe, even if you're Zain, who has been 3-0 on Axe this year, that's someone who you still don't want to see.
That's always going to be scary. He could win again, and the next time I'm like, no, he's not gonna win again. It's Axe, dude. It's like, Axe versus Marth.
I talked to Pengu about Plup versus Zain a while back, and he was like, "No, Zain's got it. Plup's lost the last like 4 in a row." And I was like, "No, that doesn't work like this." It's when it comes to like Zain and Plup or Zain and Axe, it's like, no, it doesn't. And then the next set they played, Plup won. This is before Summit 15 or Summit 13. Yeah, I feel the same way. It's like Zain can win a lot. That means a lot to me. And I'm very impressed by it. But that doesn't mean I think that he can't lose. So him having Axe, if that ends up coming true, would be very hard. HBox having Moki, that'd be very hard. Amsa and Jmook, hard for each one of them. And then honestly, I'm not about to say that Aklo is going to be easy for IBW if that comes to seed. So this is just
honestly, yeah,
bloodbath potential. Aklo already has a set on IBW this year from a regional, so according to Cody, it doesn't count. And you know, we've seen Amsa and Jmook beat each other up. Moki's not done it yet in person, but those sets look pretty damn close. And honestly, the fucking Big House one, I really thought he had it. And then, Zain Axe, what more needs to be said? So who knows? This could be a really crazy one. But I guess if I had to make a pick, maybe this is like a tier below picking Zain in terms of like it's safeness, but or safety, I guess. But I'll pick Cody. Cody here has Aklo, who is probably not the best person that he'd want in terms of just like anyone here. But if you look at every other person who they've got to play, you're probably happy that you have Aklo instead of like Moki or, well, I mean, he'd be okay with Axe, but you know, like he's got a little bit of a better draw than everyone else has in that round. And he's historically done really well versus Amsa and Jmook, even though he's lost sets to them. He's definitely the person who is projected to win. And then, if he ends up playing H-Box, he's done very well versus H-Box this year. And if he ends up playing Zain, maybe he gets into Zain's head again, and suddenly Zain ends up getting reverse 3-0.
It's something like that, but also, like, if Cody just comes in with that same, whatever it was, like, game 3 mentality that he has in all of those sets, oh my god, then that's almost like a no-brainer pick for me, where it's like, if I could just be Cody, like, that needs to get a reverse 3-0, that mentality just feels so unbeatable. Like, I don't know how he just tapped into that, but it seems like he's figured out a way to unlock that potential within himself.
Walt and Edwin, do you guys remember when this was a big thing about Cody, was his mentality? Do you remember that?
Yeah, that's why I brought it up, because I feel like no one talks about that anymore.
It was a big, people were like, Cody's good, but he's not going to be great until he gets his mentality figured, which is a very funny thing to say because it's not as easy as doing that. But yeah, he was a guy who the losers runs were not there early in his career, and you'd see him get like fucking destroyed at certain points, and you're like, well, looks like he's not going to really be able to make it. And then he has Summit 8, I think, where he ended up like going 0-3 in pools and then getting 4th or something like that, like whatever it was, he ended up getting really good placing. I think that's where he got his first H-Box and Mango wins. I hope that's right, because if not, I'm just fucking making my own story. But yeah, that was, he had this amazing run. I think also, was it that SmashCon where he got destroyed by None, where he ended up having a good run?
Yes, yeah.
Codeine Schwab. Like, he has been able to do these things that we've always counted him out for. And you're right, he's gotten to the point where Cody is probably the most like even keel and just like hard to like disrupt player that we have right now. Probably except for H-Box, who like is in his own, that's his own thing. H-Box is not on the spectrum in terms of like choker mentality. Because it's different, right? He can still lose these sets.
Yeah.
And you're just like, well, I think he might have won that set if he got one other like up air.
You John for him like months later, where you're just like, well, I don't. It's like,
and like in a way where he's not locked in the way that Cody is, because you're right. Mm-hmm. When you see Cody in these types of things, he just looks like upset proof. And when you put that type of player versus Zain, or versus H-Box or versus all these other players, when you have that leg up, it's like, that is like, that's going to really help you. The Zain set was reverse 3-0 as well, right?
It was, yeah.
I don't know how many other players you can put in down 0-2 versus Zain and 0-2 versus H-Box and have them come out the other end, but he did it, and he did both of them like he was like cool as a cucumber, confident. So I want to see if that IBW comes to play. That is someone who I'm scared for if I'm Zain, because you're like, damn, we still got 3 more events at the end of the year, and I got to deal with this guy, because he's going to win Apex and be like, well, I think I'm number 1. So I want to see that happen. I think that having another like, just Melee is better when everyone's playing at their best, and I know that Cody, obviously, I got to talk to him about Summit, that I this year it really feels like it should be a wash with all he's gone through. Hand issues, and obviously, if you've read his Twitter, he's been very open about the personal issues that has been keeping it back. But it really feels like this year should have been a wash. This year should have been the one where you go, well, he had a lot going for him, so but it's not been. It's the year where he shows that he is, like, despite all of this, has been playing probably the best Melee that he's played ever. So if he continues that, Melee is better to have competitors like him in it. So I want to see it. And let's see. Edwin Budding. It was a stormy night in Secaucus, New Jersey.
So
Jake
here's the thing.
Toronto sat alone at the bar.
I wrote all this before bracket change, so I'm just swapped around some of the names, and if I mess something up,
there's no like there's I don't know if you were into Tumblr. There's no like NSFW stuff, right?
No, there's
We're
no.
not gonna get demonetized.
No, we're not gonna get demonetized. We're not gonna get banned. We're not gonna lose our Twitch channel.
I hate how like you felt like you needed to ask though because you weren't 100% sure.
Yeah, dude, I don't know how that Hungry Box IBW set's gonna end. I gotta ask.
Right. Okay. Do you want to know what happens? Do you want me to spoil Apex 2022?
Yeah. Read us.
After I tell you,
please spoil it.
Yeah, you won't even have to watch this whole weekend. Okay.
Okay. Good.
So
good.
This is what's gonna happen. I've changed some of the names just to fit bracket because my crystal ball was a little blurry. But
crystal ball ain't so crystal clear. Beastie Boys.
No, sorry. I was gonna go into sabotage, bro. I'm sorry. Oh my god, what am I doing? Okay, so this is what's gonna happen. Hungrybox is gonna go down like 2-0 to Moki, but he's gonna reverse 3-0 him, and he's gonna reverse 3-0 him in like a really devastating way. Like,
Moki's gonna be up game 5, right?
He's gonna be up like game 4, and HBox is gonna make like a big comeback and then like destroy him game 5, right? So
that's how it would go.
And then this is what's going to happen with IBDW. He's going to come really close to losing to Rishi, but he's going to like clutch it out. But he's not going to be. He's going to be like really upset about it. And then I think Aklo is going to like beat him, but he's going to beat him in like a really unsatisfying way, where it feels like Cody might SD twice or something, and it feels like he shouldn't be like losing the set or whatever. Maybe Cody like 3 stocks in one game or something, but Aklo is going to win like 3-1. Then I think Jmook will probably beat Amsa in like a pretty exciting set, like a 5-game set or something. And Zain will beat whoever comes before winners quarters, and then Axe is going to finally beat him, right? So this will set up a winners semis of, I think, Aklo versus Jmook, which is going to be like a 3-1 victory for Jmook. He's gonna hit a bunch of clips. It's going to look like really amazing and everything. That'll leave us into Hungrybox versus Axe, which is going to be a 3-0, but it's going to be like a really boring 3-0. Like I'm going to say like 12 minutes. Like maybe Axe takes like game 3 in its last stock, but the other 3 games are like all 2 stocks.
Axe is gonna do like 1 or 2 cool things. We're gonna go, but it's like really just HBox destroying him the entire time.
Yeah, like he might do it when he's like down.
That actually was kind of close.
Yeah, they'll be like, yeah, that was a really close, like competitive 3-1. It's not. We all knew that HBox was gonna win, right? And then this leads us to a game 5 winners finals between Jmook and Hungrybox. It's gonna be really back and forth. Okay, so Jmook's gonna like win the first game by 2 stocks. Hungrybox is going to come back with like a really close Dreamland game. Jmook will respond with like a 2 stock of his own on Stadium or Yoshi's or wherever he takes him. Then what's going to happen in game 4 is that Hungrybox is going to take him somewhere, and Jmook is going to lose like a game that we all like walk away thinking like, oh, like he probably should have won that game. Like HBox is going to make this like really big comeback or whatever. Then game 5, Jmook is going to take a 4 stock to 2 stock lead. HBox will take his first stock, and then quickly rest Jmook to go down like 1 stock to 2. And then what will happen is that it goes to last stock, and HBox hits like 3 back airs in a row for the effing F combo, but like 2.0 on Jmook this time. Jmook is going to like quickly attempt to fist bump HBox as he like gets up and like picks up the chair or whatever. But like Jmook, as soon as he notices HBox is like already off the, like out of his field of vision, he's not even going to like try to fist bump him. He's just going to unplug his controller, like wrap it up and walk off stage or whatever. But Jmook will beat whoever comes through losers finals and go to grand finals for a rematch with Hungrybox. But this time there's no drama. There's no game 5. It's just like a sweet, merciful, like 8-minute quick 2 stock, where it's like a quick and painless death. And Hungrybox will win the tournament.
So wow. Edwin, last time you were on the show, you made a prediction that Amsa was not going to win the big house. You did 50-1 odds. What odds are you looking for that all of this happens exactly?
Oh god, I haven't calculated that.
I think you would need to not work again, like for. I think it'd be like generational wealth type thing, right? Because this would include like the pop off and like H-box not fist bump. Like this would be
the
every
J
single
move not
facet
fist
of what
bumping
you
is a
said.
little far fetched.
Can you send this to us so that I'm gonna follow this pretty closely now, just to make sure.
Hey, wait,
after now again, I had to change some of the names around because bracket changed, but yeah, I can send you the exact message that I sent my group of friends.
If I see one thing on this list that starts to line up to what's actually happening, I won't be well, I think. It's not going to be a good time. Yeah.
God.
Yeah. The bad news is I did this for main stage, Smash World Tour finale, and Panda Cup finale also. But when we get to those episodes of Waiting for Game,
good. We have to go through this again.
Yeah.
It's a nice story time.
Well, I say I'm a gifted storyteller.
Sure. Your story has been very enlightening here. So maybe, hey, who knows? Maybe I think HBox. This is kind of the type of thing where if he starts winning, then yeah, that makes it really interesting. So we've got HBox, we've got Cody, we've got Zain, and a heart pick for J-Mook. I think that happens every week or so that we do this. I think there's always someone who's like, "Oh, well, I want J-Mook to win."
Yeah,
we all do, dude. But no, I think that Apex is going to be a very interesting tournament, one to look out for. And I, for one, Walt, I don't know if you're in. I'm down to do the Edwin Budding prediction drinking challenge. If any of them happen, take a shot.
Let's do it.
So we'll see there. But yeah, let's wrap up Apex discussion because we're kind of coming to the end of it. We've got maybe one or two more things to do. Walt, every time we have a guest on, we ask for questions from our patrons.
All right, here we go.
And we've have this thing where they write bad questions, and I come on here and I'm like, oh, bad questions again. And then they usually write some pretty good questions. And we do this kind of back and forth. And then every time I praise them for their questions, they rest on their laurels and come back with pretty shit questions the next time. Honestly, I gotta say, they've been pretty good recently. I don't know what's going on. Maybe really creative people are losing these bets to Edwin to join our Patreon, but we've gotten some really good questions. And I'm sure I've said this before, but I mean it now more than ever, that I really think these are some of the best batch of questions that we've ever had. Really, questions that we left off would have been the best question of some other guests. So we've got 4 questions for you from our patrons, and I will start first, I believe. Right, Edwin? Okay. So this is from Jack Zilla.
All right.
Jack asks, how long do you think it'll take after you die for you to be completely forgotten? 50 years? 100 years? More?
Oh, my God. Holy shit.
What do you think, Walt?
God, after I die, the sad truth is I don't think it'll be long. Maybe like, I don't know.
What's completely forgotten mean though? Is that a melee thing?
Yeah, I guess that's like, it depends on what your definition is, right?
You could have, if you have kids or grandchildren or something.
Yeah. Shit, I don't know. I think like 25 to 50 years is probably the answer I have for that. If I have kids, they're not lasting without me. I don't know. I'm carrying this legacy.
True. Yeah.
That is a very existential question that I need to sit on after a nice cocktail and just think about. But yeah, I think I would say 25 to 50 years, probably closer to like 30 years, and then
just
people are going to be like,
a number, a whole integer.
Yeah,
just give us
30.
Just pick 30 exactly.
30 years. Yeah.
Nice. When do you expect to die in this scenario?
When do I like? Oh God, an age? That's like pretty dark. Or like, what do you mean?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just if you're only lasting 30 years, like what scenario? Like,
okay, so like I'm going out at like, let's say, okay, so I'm Chinese, so like I'm gonna die at like 98 probably.
Okay.
But let's say I don't make it to 100, and that's really sad or whatever. And my kids will be about, I don't know, how old would I have been when I have kids? Let's say they're like in their 50s then, if I'm dying at 98. I don't
Yeah,
know.
30 years. That might be.
Well, actually, that makes me 48 when I'm having a kid. So let's say they're in their 60s.
Yeah.
Or 65 or something like that. Yeah, 30 years, they're gone. It's over. They're not. I'm not letting them last as long as me.
True. Oh, it's a beautiful life that you've painted for yourself. The second best story that I've heard today, the first being the one where HBox wins and and J-Mook doesn't fist bump. Speaking of which, Edwin, I think you've got another question, right?
Yeah, this one is from Vlurk. So, Walt, what's a hot topic in the scene that you simply don't have an opinion on?
Dude, fucking most of them. I think they're all so
Really?
bad. I don't know why the collective community chooses to just get up in arms about fucking anything, and then they just we just dogpile the shit out of it. So now I think so many people just realize that you just turn it into content or tweets at this point. We were like, oh, L canceling is a bad mechanic. Like, who the fuck cares? Why are we talking about this?
This is the meme of the two people fighting. You're in the back. You're just watching, right?
At this point, yeah. There are some things where I think, maybe I'll go to bat for
wobbling. What do you want? Walt, wobbling, legal or not?
I'm down to let it rock. Either way, for a long time, I thought it was fine.
Yeah, I don't know. If you're running for president, I'm not sure if this is working for my vote.
That's you know what? That's fine, man. I'm buying your vote anyway.
With all the money that you made,
this campaign is
you're buying my vote with all the money that you made from the content on the topics that you refuse to argue.
You're damn right. You're damn right. I think dirty. We just get so fucking angry about stupid things, and it's just we're just playing.
So just
a
be
video
clear,
game,
L
man.
canceling is your pick for the hot topic that you don't have an opinion.
It's my pick because it's the most recent.
I want you to have an opinion on L canceling though. L topicing.
I think L canceling. I think L canceling is a good mechanic.
Okay.
And
so
I got into
this is not your answer.
I got into
so
a talk
you do
with,
have an opinion on it.
I do have an opinion on it, but it's I'm not gonna destroy someone over it because
but that's not the question, Walt. The question is, which one do you not have an opinion on?
Let's
go down the list. Controllers
in there. As in me not having opinion being I don't care. Yeah, controllers probably. I think box control I like box controllers and regular controllers. It's whatever.
What about how about this? Do you have an opinion on Pipsqueak's? Pipsqueak got his haircut. Did you see that? He got his haircut during Summit.
Send me a picture of it.
Okay.
Oh, you're referencing the haircut. I thought you were going to bring up his bit.
Well, everyone hates that bit. That's not even a question.
Okay, good.
Wait, the up for debate thing?
Yeah.
It's not even his bit. It's Trevor. It's Cantrip's bit that he just took.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not. He saw someone doing it for Ultimate. He's like, you know what? Melee doesn't have this. Yeah, that's the type of thing that I thought you would like. He saw an opening in the marketplace.
I respect the hell out of it, man. Hang on, here it is.
You've got a picture of Pipsqueak?
Pipsqueak's haircut. Yeah, thank you to JD.
Okay, I've got one. From him at Summit. This includes the $4 chain that I went to Walmart to get for him.
I think this is a good haircut. I have an opinion on this. This is a good haircut.
What about the chain? What do you think about the chain?
The chain is fine. I could do without it, but it's okay.
He's a wonderful little lad. He told me that he wanted his haircut when he goes back to Europe, and I was like, why not today?
That's such a father and son moment you two had right there. He just straight up said, "Dad, I need to get a haircut."
I said, I think it'd be great if you walk in to Summit after beating HBox the day before and you have a fade. And he said, "You're right. That's great." And the story to this is that Joshman was also supposed to get a fade, but ironically got a little too faded the night before and slept in. And I was thinking about going to film it, and then I got way too faded the night before. Nice. So Joshman.
Hey. Well, this is a family-friendly show.
Okay, let's go on to the next question then. This is from Contra. Hey. Connor asks, were you a Chad in high school, or did you get swirlied on the daily?
Dude, I believe in my heart that I actually got bullied when I was younger. I definitely did when I was like young, and in high school things didn't get like super great until probably around like junior year. So it took a couple years. I think there's like an acclimation period a lot of kids go through where they're just like, in my case, I'm pretty like introverted. So it was like I was really quiet and didn't talk to people, and like it didn't really come together for a while until like junior or senior year. So not swirlies, but definitely was like weird and didn't know how to.
Any classic high school did you get pushed in a locker ever?
No, we weren't. Like, my school was so nice, man. It was so weird. Like, they were so nice to each other. It's a very, like, I don't really talk to a ton of people from my high school anymore, but it was like the people I do still hang out with, we've always said it's just remarkably strange how like well-mannered everyone was at our school. Like, there weren't really fights or like crazy shit going down. Everyone like came from a pretty like okay upbringing and neighborhood and stuff like that. So there wasn't a ton of drama to be had on that front, unfortunately.
Yeah, well, let's check the average income of the people there, and then we'll find out what.
Right.
I mean, yeah, I think that the whole like fucking high school things are always played out. They're just cliches from the movies. I don't think people get thrown into trash cans or whatever.
I will say we reverse bullied lacrosse players because lacrosse players were supposed to be like super sick and awesome and whatever, and we were just like, fuck that, man. Like, these guys think they're way too cool for everyone else. So like, we as the collective track and field team, who obviously had much more clout than the the lacrosse players, we would do an initiative brought on by myself and some others, Laxbro Fridays, where we would just like dress up like assholes, honestly, and then just like pretend to be douchey lacrosse bros. But that was it. That was probably the extent of us being petty. Yeah.
Hey, speaking of lacrosse, let me dox myself real quick. Is that someone who I went to high school with ended up being basically LeBron of lacrosse?
Oh shit, that's awesome.
Yeah, I found this out like 2 weeks ago because I knew he was good, and someone like just mentioned him offhand. Yeah, he's like the number one player, MVP, won championships. Like,
damn,
just voted number one by his peers. Yeah, it's crazy. But speaking of high school, we've got another question from former high school bully himself, Edwin Budding.
Nice,
Edwin, you got another question?
Yes, I do. Although I do want to say that I was never swirlied. But I definitely wasn't a Chad in high school.
Well, the claim was that you're a bully, and
No, I wasn't.
Yeah, you're definitely.
I've heard the stories.
Okay, let's. I don't want to get into this right now. I don't want to get into this right now. This is from Danger. This is a very funny one. It is spiritually related to bullying. How do you think you'd fare in a fight versus the host of this podcast? Both at the same time, one-on-one?
I feel like you asked me this question the last time I was on. And my answer is Edwin, I'm sorry, it's not even close. I'm clapping that like all day.
Yeah, no, you'd beat me in a fight.
I am getting clapped without any question.
Was Ambi on the last time you did this?
Yes.
Well, so he was the Goldilocks. He was like perfectly in the middle there, where he might.
I like remember pretty vividly being asked this question, and I remember saying that you would probably kick my ass, and I was okay with that. So I don't. Yeah, I think my answer is pretty much the same. Like, I've been working out a little bit, but it's still not going to be close.
You know what? If you're talking about melee players and you're talking about fighting, it's a very fun topic. But If you want to see what it looks like, you can go to the Melee Stats archive and type in Greg Turbo versus Ringler, Smash Camp 2022.
Oh, yeah.
And Smash Camp Newlands. And the results of that might thrill you. Honestly, one of our higher viewed VODs.
I will say my I've never been like super muscular or anything. Like I did weightlifting for a bit and that was fun, but I've never been muscular. But just as an update on my physical health and well-being, I haven't worked out in like months, and my mom told me today that I had to lose weight. So,
Nice.
Damn.
so it's not looking
Well,
too
I think
good
you
for
look
your
good,
boy.
so I don't know. I think you
you.
look great.
Looking great is different than winning a fight, though. I'm still behind. I'm not where I want to be in the first one, and I'm definitely not where I need to be.
Is your mom
saying-
like qualifying you looking good by how well you can win a fight? Because then that's a different
son.
issue
I don't think you
entirely.
can beat Walt in a fight right now.
Yeah, I think she actually put it in those words. Now that you bring it up, son.
Damn, how does she know Walt? Are you guys collaborating?
Oh my god!
But okay, honestly, that's a great segue because this is the type of stuff that we talk about in our last segment, which is the unnamed segment that, of course, the fans know as Touching Grass. Walt, we had you on when we had this topic, I swear. But for those of you who don't know what it is, this is the topic where we talk about stuff that's been going on in our lives recently.
Yes.
Because
Okay.
generally it's so easy to just get caught up in all the melee that it's hard to remember that we're multifaceted human beings who do a lot of different things. So I will go first, and I will say I got the flu at Summit, and I've been pretty sick for a while, and I will say I feel pretty fine right now, but still have felt the effects of it a little bit, and definitely felt a little frazzled this episode. So if there are any weird hosting moments, you can't make fun of me. I'm sick. But that's a really lame one to pick, is that I'm sick. So I guess if I had to pick another one, I would pick. Oh God, what have I been doing? Oh, you know what? There's a show that I've only watched on planes for some reason. I don't know why. I just very casual relationship where it's just me and the show. We know what's going on. There's no need to make it anything more than it is. I'll watch you when I'm on the plane, and then I will not watch you when I'm on land. So I was on the plane recently because of Summit, and I finished the first season of Only Murders in the Building, which is the show with it's on Hulu. It's got Steve Martin Short, and Selena Gomez, and I probably had to see about 50 different tweets from Pengu about how good it was before I wanted to start it, but I did, and it was very charming and has a good it's got a really good tone to it. It's a very fun show to watch. Funny. It's got endearing characters because it's really easy to like Steve Martin or Martin Short. But yeah, a really quick writing. It's about a murder mystery type thing, but it's a good play on it. I would say, yeah, if you had any inclination to maybe watch it, I would say go for it. Take the jump, because it is a good thing. And I've broken the streak. While I was sick, I watched it on land. I started season 2 on Hulu. Nice. So maybe I will continue to watch it without having to take an airplane to justify it. But yeah, that's my pick. Being very sick from the flu and Only Murders in the Building. Edwin Budding, what's going on with you, my man?
Yeah, so I mentioned before that my mom called me fat and out of shape and told me I need to lose weight. So I'm still not over that. That happened today. I had a whole I was going to talk about still kind of going through my fantasy novel and fantasy binging or whatever. I recently finished the first book of Cradle, which is this series by Walt. It's a pretty fun read. I wouldn't say it's particularly at least so far from the first book, it's not particularly omega deep or anything. The characters are fine, but it's really fat. It's kind of a quick read. It's sort of there's a lot of action. It's fun to read. The writer's got a fun writing style to convey conflict and how things turn out in the story. The world's kind of interesting. Yeah, it's been fun. A lot of reading I've been doing lately. A lot of housework also, but yeah. That's sort of been it for me.
That's sick. Walter?
To follow your pattern of answer here, I too got sick.
Nice.
Beginning of the month, I got COVID, unfortunately.
Oh, no. Is this your first time?
Oh, geez.
No, it was the second time.
That sucks.
I think I got it in March-ish of this year, but I mean, thankfully my symptoms were good for the most part. I just felt pretty shitty one day at work, and then I just left early, tested negative that night, and then the next morning I legit went on a 4-mile run because I called out sick and I was like, I'm just gonna go out and I feel
Flex.
all right. And well, no, because it was bad, but like I felt okay during
Yeah, I
the
have
run.
COVID. I'll
and
just go
then-
on a 4-mile run. Yeah, why not?
Well, like
Flex.
I came back because I tested negative and I just called out
Yeah.
for the next day to rest. And I
Did you
came back
complete the
from
run?
Yeah, I came back from the run and then
Flex.
tested
Edwin,
after.
sounds like a flex to me.
Okay, fine. It was a flex. Fuck you. And and then I tested positive there. So that was like, it kind of sucked because I had to obviously quarantine and not be at work and stuff like that. But ended up working from home and did a little bit of like cooking and whatnot to try to like, I cook every night, but try to like get back into
Flex.
that sort of thing. Okay, man, I can't do this. But my thing is, I got to bake again, which was very nice. Made some bread the other weekend, which was fun. And this upcoming weekend, I will be going to my alma mater for a football game. I'm actually leaving tomorrow night, so it's going to be fun.
Nice. That sounds cool. What are you? If you like, let's say you go to Duke, you're a Blue Devil. What are you?
Oh, my mascot is so great. We are the Gamecocks.
Oh, so what
South
are you?
Carolina
That makes
Gamecocks.
that makes you a
cock, a big old cock. Yeah, I love
man.
it. I love it because we get to just wear hats that say cocks on it, and it's just like normal, and people don't look weird about it.
Yeah, how much of that affected your decision to go?
Actually, not a lot. The true answer to that was I had basically an ultimatum when I was graduating high school, and my parents said I could go to a good STEM program school for engineering, but I would have to commute, and I couldn't live there. So then I just went to South Carolina, which was like 700 miles away instead, so I could live there.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, that sounds very fun, and I do think that it's very funny that you're like, I got sick. The worst part about that was that I couldn't go to work. Man, fucking grind set. Walt
It's not even.
here.
It wasn't that I couldn't go to work. It was more like I was nervous about me not appearing at work because I was like taking time off to go to like tournaments and other stuff. So
yeah. Well, I'm glad that you're feeling better. I hope.
Yeah, totally cool. Fine. Just one bad day. That was it.
That's a flex. Got COVID again. Guess what? Just one day. I gotta say, it was great to have you on. You are you're a very fun guest, very fun to talk to. I'm happy to hear that you are doing better. And so where can people follow you? For a lot of people, it might be hard to not see your posts, but for those of you who
that's right,
who don't see them and would like to flex, who don't see them and would like to see them, where can people follow you?
We are trying to get to. I want to try to get to 60K on YouTube, hopefully by the end of the year. So that's probably where I'll point people the most. But youtube.com/turndownforwalt, twitter.com/turndownforwalt. If you want to see tweets that aren't the it's up for debate thing that Pipsqueak's been doing,
much better.
They're not. They're really not. It's such a low hanging fruit, man. It's so easy.
So much shilling, dude.
I won't say this on the show, but I'll tell you after. It's just, but yeah, it's so easy. And then the only ones that are different are, I think, Instagram and TikTok because the names were taken. So it's Turn Down for Walt official, and that's it. But yeah,
what's going on these official Instagram?
I mean, what else was I gonna do? An underscore Turn Down for Walt TV. Give me a good alternative here, and then we'll be done.
Hey man, I think you're fine. You're good. It's if when someone's on TikTok there and they see like Mango's run it, smash summit, they're like, well, I don't know, anyone could have stole this. Oh, it's the official channel. No, never mind.
Wait, you're right. Maybe I should change my. Now they introduce YouTube handles. I'll change my YouTube handle to
that. Okay, so yeah, if you want to catch up on, because if I've talked to you about this, you're basically the binging with Babish of Melee, where you kind of get all your other minions to do the work and you just be the face of it. But which means that you. No, this is a compliment. Because you did it way before binging with Babish did. It took him years to get to that point. This means that you're putting out all these videos on like every big tournament. So if you want to catch up on what's going on in Melee, get a quick little bite of it, you can hop on over to the YouTube. I guess subscribe, but also subscribe to us if
True,
please. Because whatever. Why am I shilling your channel? There's no one who's a Melee Stats fan who's like, oh, who's this Turn Down for Walt guy? Never heard of him. Very, very great to have you on. And in terms of us, if you want to follow us, if you want to watch these episodes after they air, the Melee Stats archive on YouTube. Our main channel is Melee Stats. That's where we're going to find our long form videos. We go live, twitch.tv/Melee Stats. That's where you can catch these episodes as they air. Twitter.com/Melee Stats Pod. We're going to have daily results reporting and links to some of our other things. And MeleeStats.co. That's our website. You can find Monday Morning Marth and When's Melee there. MeleeStats.co/shop. We'll have our merch. Walt, you have merch too, I bet. We're going to get a second plug at the end of this.
Come on, man. We shared a booth together. Did that mean
we
nothing
did share a booth? Do you have a cute little URL? MeleeStats.co/shop. We got that. You got it, something like that.
You got .co. That's cool. Shit. I just have a normal website.
I think .com was like $400 more or something. I don't know. MeleeStats.co/shop. And if you love everything you do and you just want to support us, patreon.com/MeleeStats. Walt, get your last minute shill in here because I'm sure you have more.
No. Okay. This is a shot actually, because since you bring up Patreon, you guys are way worse when it comes to this stuff. When it comes to Patreon specifically, and this is you, Edwin, not me. It is a skill what you are doing, and I don't know how I can adapt this in a way that works for me, but I'm gonna figure out a way. Because
one of my favorite moments about the Melee Stats Patreon was that at one point I tagged Webbs in our Discord server, and I tagged him and I just said join the Patreon, and he did, and then Edwin it was a joke, right? I'm very close with Webbs. Edwin didn't know that I knew him. So he just thought that we were like literally cold calling people by just like adding people and being like, sub to us. And he was like, it's working. So he's like, we got to do this with everyone. Just start adding people, just ask for money. But yes, I don't know, man. You got to learn from, you're a great shiller, but you've got a little bit to go to until you get to Edwin Budding.
I feel a very like carnal rage and like visceral desire to tell this story before we sign off, because Edwin gaslit the shit out of me, and I want this to go on public record.
As I should have. You were being given a secret resource.
What do you mean that you should have?
I can't have that. I can't have that link be revealed to people who weren't paying for it.
I was paying for it. It's not.
You were paying the proper rate.
There's a secret commentator resource that has been going around that should we tell? Okay, this would be the last thing. Should we tell the story, Edwin? What do you think?
This is your call.
Yeah, make it quick. Make it quick.
Yeah, okay, Walt, go ahead.
So Edwin had notes for like matchups in top 8s that he had sent to me at one event, and I was like, oh, this is super rad. So he sent it to me again at SmashCon, but he said it will come to you at a cost, and you have to first off. What you said in our chat, and I can't read it because this is what you did. We had this whole conversation, and you deleted the chats, so it doesn't even.
Yeah, because
I can't
it had
look
the
at
link
it anymore.
So, it had the link.
So I'm sitting right next to Vish, already like very nervous because I've obviously never did a top 4 before, and I wanted to do well at it. And Vish is like, oh, like I have the notes; they're right here. Like. We could look at it together if you want, but I feel bad because like, you know, whatever. But I'm like, I'm literally like bargaining with you because it's like, it's just a matter of, I cannot upgrade my Patreon right now because I am about to commentate this tournament. Can you please send me the link? I am a man of my word, and I will upgrade it as soon as I have proper internet and can do it. And you were just like, no, but the other thing was, on top of all of that, you told me I had to pledge $50 a month to do
No,
it.
no. If I wrote a month, did I write a month? It would have been a year.
Yes,
like at
you
the
did.
annual rate.
Yes, you did.
Okay,
You
no,
said
$50 a month. No,
and then you said, then on top of it, you motherfucker, and I don't care if this is not right, you said Jorge and June also paid the $50 a month. So I messaged both of them after the block, and I was like, hey, did you pledge to Edwin for this? And they both said no. So I don't know.
It would have been $50 a year. It wouldn't have been $50 a month then. If I said month, that was sincerely my mistake.
I sat in like perpetuity waiting for commentary, like not knowing what was real for a period of time, because every person who was in this like commentary inner circle was like, we have no idea what you're talking about, dude. And then I pulled my phone out and I was like, oh, well, look at what Edwin said to me. And the messages are gone. They're just gone because you deleted them.
This is all so 50 a month was the no.
The funny thing is that you've told this story to Edwin before, and he's just like, "No, it's 50 a year." Like he's continued the gaslighting.
I know.
Well, if you'd like to join the Patreon for $50 a month, we don't have a tier for that, but I don't know. Maybe
we have one for almost 10,000 a month.
We do. We have no one who's joined it. So if you want to join it, feel free. Findom, that's what they call it, right? You give someone a lot of money and then you get off from giving them money. Why? Hey, we're a couple young lads. Why not? Just get if that's what gets you off, feel free. And on that note, Edwin, good to have you on again. Walt, of course, great to have you on. Very fun show. And hopefully you have fun at your little alma mater thing, and hopefully it all goes well.
Thank you.
And who knows? Play your cards right. Maybe we'll get you on again in the future. Maybe you'll start a podcast and have us on to discuss. What was it? It was 6 months rankings versus yearly. Whoo boy, who knows?
Yeah, that's a long show.
We will. Well. Speaking of which, we're on a long show right now, so let's end it. So thanks everyone for watching. I appreciate you tuning in, and we will catch you the week after next to discuss. Oh my God, it's probably already main stage at that point. Jesus. Well, we'll be back then to discuss the end of the year, I guess. See ya. Thanks. Peace.